What if I told you that Belly's so-called dream future is about to collapse before her eyes and Season 3? Episode 9 of the summer, I turned pretty will prove once, and for all that every choice she made was nothing more than a ticking time bomb. Yes, the trailer and first look at Episode 9 don't just tease drama. They scream heartbreak, betrayal, and the kind of emotional chaos that no one in this love triangle will walk away from untouched. This isn't just another chapter in Belly's coming-of-age story. This is the turning point, the moment when the truth, the lies, and the consequences all come crashing down on her at once. And trust me, it's not pretty. From the very first seconds of this trailer, the energy is tense, like we're standing at the edge of a cliff, just waiting for someone to fall. And you know what? It's Belly who's dangling closest to the edge. After everything that went down in Episode 8, the confessions, the arguments, the brutal engagement fallout, Episode 9 promises to be the episode where all the damage truly settles in. Belly's biggest mistake wasn't just choosing Jeremiah, or holding on to Conrad, or pretending she could balance both without breaking them. No, her biggest mistake was believing that she could control this story at all. Because the truth is, every step she's taken has led to this point where she has lost the trust of Jeremiah, shattered Conrad's heart beyond repair, and ruined the one relationship that should have been unshakable, the bond between the two brothers. And the trailer makes it crystal clear there's no easy way out anymore. We see glimpses of Belly in emotional freefall, and you can almost feel that she's beginning to realize the weight of what she's done. For the first time, it doesn't look like she's just confused or torn between love interests. She looks lost, like someone who knows deep down she's caused irreversible damage and has no idea how to fix it. What makes this even more powerful is how Episode 9 leans into that uncertainty. Nothing about this feels like the predictable teenage romance we thought it was at the start. This is darker, heavier, and far more tragic because Belly's decisions are no longer just about her love life. They are about betrayal, broken promises, and consequences that ripple far beyond her own feelings. Think about it. Jeremiah finally stood up for himself by walking away, but his pain is far from over. The trailer hints at his vulnerability spiraling, as if he's realizing that all along, Belly's heart was never truly his. Conrad, on the other hand, is stuck in the middle of the worst possible nightmare, still hopelessly in love with the girl who keeps breaking him while being hated by the brother who used to be his closest ally. And Belly, she's left holding the pieces of a puzzle she broke with her own hands. The most haunting part is that none of this is temporary. These wounds don't heal in a single episode or even in a single season. And that's what makes Episode 9 so intense. It's not about who Belly will choose anymore. It's about whether anyone can even survive what she's done. If there's one thing Episode 9 makes painfully obvious, it's that Belly is not the innocent victim she sometimes pretends to be. For too long, she has been walking a dangerous line between Jeremiah and Conrad, convincing herself that love justifies the chaos she leaves behind. But the first look at this episode exposes the truth. She isn't just choosing between two brothers. She is playing with the very foundation of their lives, a foundation that might never recover. Jeremiah, for example, has always been painted as the more open, emotional one, the brother who wears his heart on his sleeve. But Episode 9 shows us a very different side of him, a man broken, betrayed, and humiliated in front of everyone he trusted. The trailer hints at his silence, his distance, and the way he seems to retreat into himself. That's not just heartbreak, that's devastation. He knows now without a shadow of a doubt that Belly's heart never belonged entirely to him. And that realization is crushing. On the other side, Conrad continues to be the enigma. The trailer suggests that he's present, but not in the way we're used to. He's quieter, colder, almost haunted. And how could he not be? He laid his heart bare, only to watch Belly walk away, choosing his brother instead. Then when that decision collapsed, Belly still didn't come running back to him. She hesitated, like she was holding his love hostage until it suited her. That's why the tension in Episode 9 feels different. It's not just about who ends up with who. It's about whether Conrad can forgive being treated like a backup plan and whether Jeremiah can live with the knowledge that his brother and the girl he loves share a connection that will never fade. And Belly is caught in the storm she created, unable to escape the weight of her decisions. What makes episode 9 so suspenseful is that it doesn't look like anyone is willing to give her an easy way out anymore. In the past, Belly always had one of the brothers protecting her, shielding her from the full consequences of her choices. But now, both seem distant, wounded, and unwilling to play her game any longer. The trailer frames Belly in isolation. She is surrounded by people, yet utterly alone. That loneliness is the punishment she never saw coming. And honestly, it feels earned. Because let's be real, Belly wanted the fantasy. She wanted the dream of Jeremiah's steady love and Conrad's deep passion, all while believing she could juggle both without breaking either. But dreams don't survive reality. And episode 9 is where reality finally breaks through. Even her supposed Paris escape, teased at the end of episode 8, doesn't promise freedom. Instead, it looks like Paris will be the setting where she is forced to face herself without the safety net of family, friends, or the boys who always picked her up when she fell. And this right here is the scariest part, when Belly has no one left to blame, no one left to hide behind. She has to confront the person she really is, and whether she even deserves the love she's been fighting so hard to claim. The suspense in the trailer doesn't come from explosions or twists. It comes from the quiet, brutal fallout of choices finally catching up with someone who thought she could outrun them. We see glimpses of tension, arguments that feel final rather than temporary, and the heavy silence of bonds that may never heal. Every frame screams consequences. And as a viewer, it leaves you with one burning question. Has Belly finally gone too far? Has she crossed the point of no return, where no apology, no romantic reunion, and no tearful confession will ever fix the damage she's done? Because if that's the case, then episode 9 isn't just another messy chapter. It's the chapter that redefines the entire series. The heart of episode 9, and really of this entire season, is not just about Belly at all. It's about the destruction of the bond between Jeremiah and Conrad. For years, these two brothers were inseparable, united by blood, childhood memories, and the shared grief of losing their mother. They were supposed to be each other's anchor when the world fell apart. And yet, here we are watching their relationship crumble piece by piece, largely because of Belly. The trailer makes this rift impossible to ignore. You can almost feel the coldness radiating between them, the way Jeremiah avoids Conrad's eyes, and the way Conrad seems weighed down by guilt he can't shake. This isn't just sibling rivalry or a fight that will blow over with time. This is betrayal, raw and deep. And no matter what happens romantically, the scars will remain. And that's what makes episode 9 so devastating. It forces us to realize that no love story, no matter how passionate or iconic, is worth destroying the one bond that should have been sacred. Watching these brothers unravel is harder than watching Belly struggle with her feelings. Because at least Belly's mistakes are hers alone. Jeremiah and Conrad didn't ask to be caught in this triangle. They were thrown into it, and now they are both paying the price. What's even more haunting is the way the trailer teases their silence. Not screaming, not fighting, but silence. Because silence between siblings speaks louder than any argument ever could. Silence means the foundation is cracked. Silence means the trust is gone. Jeremiah has finally woken up to the reality that Conrad's love for Belly was never gone, not even for a second. And that realization makes every memory of their brotherhood feel like a lie. Meanwhile, Conrad is trapped in a prison of his own making. He tried to step aside for Jeremiah before, tried to bury his own feelings for the sake of his brother, but he couldn't keep them down forever. And when he confessed his love to Belly, even if it came from a place of honesty, it was still at Jeremiah's expense. That's why the tension in episode 9 feels so permanent. Because how do you come back from this? How do you look your brother in the eye knowing you broke his heart, even if you didn't mean to? And then there's the question of forgiveness. The trailer makes it clear that Jeremiah and Conrad are at a crossroads. Either they will eventually find a way to forgive each other, or this love triangle will mark the end of their bond for good. The chilling part is that neither option feels guaranteed. For the first time, the Fisher brothers aren't united, and Belly is the wedge that drove them apart. As a viewer, it's impossible not to feel a mix of anger and sadness. Anger because Belly's indecision and selfishness set this chain of events in motion. Sadness because deep down we know Jeremiah and Conrad's love for each other is still there. It's just buried under the weight of heartbreak and betrayal. And episode 9 doesn't look like it will offer a quick resolution. If anything, it seems ready to twist the knife even deeper. Because even if Belly chooses one of them, the other will never fully heal. And even if she walks away from both, the damage between the brothers is already done. This is where the suspense becomes almost unbearable. The trailer doesn't answer the question of whether Jeremiah and Conrad will ever recover, but it forces us to sit with the possibility that they might not. And honestly, that's more painful than watching Belly cry over her romantic confusion. Because love triangles come and go. Teen romance burns bright and fades. But brothers are supposed to be forever. And if episode 9 shows us anything, it's that forever can be broken. That's why this upcoming episode feels less like a love story and more like a tragedy. Not the tragedy of who Belly ends up with, but the tragedy of what she has already cost these two brothers. If episode 9 proves anything, it's that running away doesn't solve the chaos you leave behind. Belly's decision to escape to Paris at the end of episode 8 might have seemed like a way to clear her head, but the trailer suggests the opposite. Instead of finding freedom, she finds herself staring into a mirror she can no longer avoid. For the first time in this entire season, Belly is forced to sit with herself without Jeremiah's constant affection or Conrad's quiet longing to cushion her mistakes. And what do we see? Not a girl who is growing into maturity, but someone weighed down by regret, confusion, and guilt. Episode 9 positions Paris not as a romantic getaway, but as the stage for Belly's reckoning. The way the trailer frames her at the airport on the verge of tears tells us everything. She knows she's not leaving for a new beginning. She's leaving because she doesn't know how to face the people she's hurt. And that is where her biggest mistake lies. Because while Jeremiah and Conrad are left bleeding in the aftermath, Belly is still chasing her fantasy of self-discovery, ignoring the fact that the mess she created is following her no matter how far she goes. What makes this part of the story so haunting is the glimpse of Conrad. That brief airport encounter teased at the end of episode 8 now hangs over the entire trailer like a storm cloud. Episode 9 makes it clear that Conrad isn't just letting Belly disappear without a word. His presence in Paris, whether real or imagined, represents the one truth Belly has never been able to admit. No matter how much she tries to bury it, her heart is tied to him. But here's the problem. Knowing that and acting on it are two very different things. The first look at episode 9 suggests Belly will be torn apart by this realization. Because even if Conrad is the love she can't escape, how can she justify stepping into his arms when she just broke Jeremiah in the most brutal way possible? How can she claim love when she's left destruction behind her? This is the paradox that makes Belly's journey so suspenseful right now. She's desperate for clarity, but every step toward Conrad only deepens Jeremiah's wound. And every moment she hesitates only drives Conrad further into despair. There is no path that doesn't lead to heartbreak. And episode 9 seems to revel in forcing Belly to finally admit that. The isolation Belly faces in Paris also highlights something that has been overlooked all season: her parents' failure to guide her. Over and over again, we've seen adults step back, offering sympathy but not accountability, as if these 20-year-olds were equipped to handle the crushing weight of marriage, betrayal, and lifelong choices. Episode 9 brings that failure into sharper focus. Belly isn't just lost in love. She's lost because no one ever stopped her from making decisions that were too big for her to understand. The trailer emphasizes this by showing her alone, wandering, clearly struggling under the weight of responsibility she should never have carried alone. And as frustrating as Belly's mistakes are, it's hard not to feel a sting of sympathy here. Because even though she caused this disaster, she was also left unchecked, free to believe that she could juggle two brothers' hearts without breaking them. Episode 9 feels like the episode where that delusion finally shatters. The suspense now isn't just about whether Belly ends up with Conrad or whether Jeremiah forgives her. The real suspense is about Belly herself. Who is she when the dust settles? Is she the romantic heroine she's always imagined? Or is she the villain of this story, the one who turned love into destruction? The trailer leaves this question unanswered, and that's what makes it so powerful. We see her torn, haunted, almost desperate, but not redeemed. And perhaps that's the scariest part, because episode 9 hints that Belly's journey toward redemption isn't coming anytime soon. Instead, we're left with a young woman at her lowest point, finally seeing the consequences of her choices, yet still unsure if she has the strength or the humility to make things right. Episode 9 is not just another messy chapter in Belly's journey. It feels like the breaking point, the moment that reshapes everything we thought we knew about the summer turned pretty. The trailer makes it clear that there are no clean resolutions waiting for us here. Jeremiah's heartbreak doesn't magically heal. Conrad's quiet suffering doesn't suddenly disappear. And Belly's tears are no longer enough to excuse the wreckage she has left behind. What's chilling about episode 9 is that it shifts the story from romance into something far heavier, a meditation on consequences. Every character is standing at a crossroads, and whichever path they choose, someone will be left broken. Jeremiah may seem like he walked away, but the pain in his eyes tells us that his story with Belly isn't finished. It's just paused, twisted into something darker by the betrayal he feels. Conrad, despite his gentleness and restraint, cannot keep pretending he doesn't love Belly. But the question is whether he can still love her after everything she's done. And Belly is no longer the confused girl caught between two brothers. She is the catalyst, the spark that set fire to everything. And now the fire is out of control. The brilliance of the episode 9 trailer is how it leaves us trapped in suspense, dangling between hope and despair. On one hand, there are hints of romance, the Paris setting, the stolen glances, the unspoken words between Conrad and Belly. On the other hand, there is a darkness to every scene, a reminder that love built on betrayal doesn't come without a cost. It forces us to ask the question no fan wants to confront. Is this love triangle even worth it anymore? Have the writers pushed these characters so far that no ending, not Belly with Conrad, not Belly with Jeremiah, not even Belly alone, will ever feel satisfying? And that uncertainty is exactly what makes this upcoming episode so thrilling. It's no longer about who she chooses. It's about whether the story itself can survive the weight of her mistakes. By the time episode 9 ends, one thing will be clear. Belly cannot run from the truth any longer. She can't hide behind Jeremiah's devotion or Conrad's patience, or even her parents' excuses. She has to own the damage she's caused. And for the first time, it looks like everyone around her is ready to stop protecting her from herself. Jeremiah isn't willing to play the fool anymore. Conrad isn't willing to be the backup plan. Even Steven has started holding her accountable, forcing her to see the reality she's tried so hard to avoid. That's why this episode feels like the darkest night before the dawn. It strips away the fantasy, the nostalgia, and the dreamy summer glow, and it leaves us with raw, painful honesty. And maybe, just maybe, that honesty is what these characters have needed all along. But here's the real suspense. What happens next? If episode 9 is the breaking point, then the finale has to be the aftermath. Will Jeremiah walk away forever, or will his love for Belly pull him back into her orbit despite the pain? Will Conrad finally find the courage to move on, or will Paris become the place where he and Belly try once again to rewrite their story? And most importantly, will Belly finally learn that love isn't about fantasy, but about responsibility, sacrifice, and respect? These are the questions episode 9 sets on fire. And no matter how you feel about Belly, whether you love her, hate her, or can't stop screaming, "What the hell is she doing?" you cannot deny that the fallout has never been this intense. This is not just about romance anymore. It's about survival. And by the end of this episode, it's clear that no one is walking away unscarred. So buckle up, because episode 9 is not just going to hurt, it's going to change.